What up, brothers? It's TheClipperKing returning for the first review in quite a while. It's probably a good 2 months since I did a review last, which was the 1/4 scale Hot Toys Batman. If you've not seen that review, please go back and have a look. But like I say, I'm back into the reviewing. I've got to say as well, because I've had a little break sort of over Christmas and into the new year, a lot of people have been saying, when you're doing Superman, when you're doing Superman. So today's that day. As you can see, I've got it set up in front of us. It is the Man of Steel Superman from Hot Toys. Just got him in a pretty museum pose at the moment. I will try and get you multiple poses. And I will say as well, up to doing this review, I've done very little with him. I've not really posed him extreme yet. I got him out of the box, set him up, looked around him. I did steam the shoulders, which I've spoke about on Figure Talk and on the video I put up overnight, which basically just entailed warming up sort of this section and this section so I could get the creases out of the cape, which had got in the box. And also underneath there's sort of a plastic framework, which I'll talk about when I get to the outfit. But also I just steamed it to warm that up so I could nip it to the shoulders, kind of like I did with the DX12 Batman armour. So that is all I've really done with the figure. So as I'm doing this, I don't really know what the articulation score is or anything, because I haven't really tried anything yet. I just basically straightened up his outfit, sorted his cape out and stood him up. I will say to start with, you don't take me to tell you that it's an awesome figure. But as we've seen before on some of my reviews, an awesome figure doesn't always get a top line score. Is that going to be the case here? Or will it be an awesome figure with an awesome score? And will the score even affect whether you want to buy this figure or not? Probably won't. But like I say, if you're still expecting this figure, or you've got the figure already and you're looking for some pose ideas, I hope I can help you with that. Like those who are still waiting for the figure, I'll say straight off, you will be happy when you get it. But this might sort of pass some time until you do receive it. So, another thing I wouldn't normally do with a review, but I am going to do on this one, is do a dedication. I'm going to dedicate this whole video to Carlos 1/6 scale. Most of you will know his channel, and the reason I am dedicating to him is because I did like what he did with the Supermans he got. He customised one, and the thing I liked most about it is Carlos were a massive supporter of the Christopher Reeve version of Superman, and sometimes in community you'll find when a person gets a figure they really love, they'll defend it to hilt, even if it means sort of over bashing another figure. Well, Carlos never did that. He got the sentimental connection to this Christopher Reeve Superman, yet he still showed love for this version, so respect to him, and I do want to dedicate this video to him, so massive shout out to Carlos. If you've not resubscribed to him, he used to be CF Motor Racer, and he's now Carlos 1/6 scale, so massive shout out to him. And like I've said, it's a pleasure talking to him when we do figure time together, or figure talk. I always call it figure time for some reason. So let's stop rambling and let's get on with this review. While he's posed like this, I will say on the source material, I did really enjoy this film. I like the fact that they didn't tell the backstory exactly the same as they'd done before. It weren't a feeling of like the Amazing Spider-Man, we've seen this fucking 10 years ago, do we need to see it all again? With this, it was like a different telling of it, of the story. We got to see Krypton, which I'm really impressed with. I do like Henry Cavill's portrayal of Clark Kent / Superman. I think he does it really well. And I think he is very of this generation. I think they brought Superman forward in massive leaps and bounds. Just to qualify that, I will say I was never a massive fan of the Christopher Reeve Superman. I know that's blasphemy saying that, particularly in this community, but it was sort of just a tiny bit before my time. And I said just a tiny bit before my time. It was sort of in my childhood, but I never loved it. And I never really loved Superman either, the character. To me, he's always been too super. I don't see him as anybody a threat to him. I don't think he needs the Justice League, and I don't see a worthy villain for him. But anyway, the film, Man of Steel, I did really enjoy. Another main reason I did enjoy the film is no signs of Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor fucking pisses me off. Superman needs Lex Luthor like he needs a fucking hole on his fucking, in his head. I don't know, it just, whatever Lex Luthor does, and I know people come, he's fucking cleverest man on earth and blah blah blah, all that cleverness, all Superman needs to do is fucking fly into the moon and leave him there. I've said this before, I know it's simplistic, but that is my feeling. I think for a Superman film to work, I think he's got to be fighting other aliens, or throw him into a film like the Pacific Rim film where he's fighting monsters and robots, whatever. But Lex Luthor to me brings a Superman film down, and that's my honest thoughts on it. Regardless who they cast as it, that's my thoughts. I just don't think that there's anything he can do that Superman can't counteract. He's only got to get to him once, he could fucking punch an hole straight through his chest. And that's my thoughts. Another thing I liked about the film were it were a sidestep away from The Dark Knight. I do love The Dark Knight, but people's sort of overhyping of it had got to a point where I'm thinking, I need this to subside now. We've been raving on about it like it's greatest trilogy ever, which it isn't. It is good, and I did enjoy it, but I think Superman sort of distracted the DC followers away from The Dark Knight, which I did like as well. Things I didn't like about the film, the world generator or whatever it's called, I just thought it was a fucking stupid idea. I wish it would have just been a straight street fight with Zod and his army sort of thing, progressively getting more dire for Superman. I don't know, even if they'd have took it to outer space, whatever. I just didn't like the world generator. That scene sort of pissed me off a bit. I think they went extreme with the action, which I liked, because I think if you tone the action down in a Superman film, again, it don't work. You need to see him doing super things, or else he's just another one of us. So, yeah. So, source material, I've said before, I'd be reluctant to give any superhero film a 5 out of 5, because I don't think they go on to become all-time classics. In my opinion, I know some will say they do, but in my opinion, they don't. They superseded as soon as the next part comes out. That's how I feel. Like I said, I know some would argue, and obviously that's their opinion. But for the sake of this review and for the sake of moving on, I'm going to give this the source material a 4 out of 5. Right, moving on to the packaging, and I will try and cover this quickly. But I will say, I do like it. It is a pretty simple box. It's not a slip cover. It is a sort of magnet-sided wrap-around box. If I can just get it open. Oh, it's pretty strong as well. So, wraps around. So the Superman symbol on the side. And the clams, the couple of layers of clams inside. They do follow the pattern on the suit, like the top coat of the suit, through the box, which I did like as well. Nothing really on the back to write home about, so I'm not even bothered turning it. You can see the glossed emblem on the front, sort of on the red, but not on the yellow, which makes it pop. You can see it catching the light from the camera. And the wording, Man of Steel, Superman, and then the MMS number, 200. So yeah, really nice. I think it is sort of set out so you could display the figure in front of it and it would look really nice. Pretty simple, but simple sometimes good, and I do think that is the case here. I'd sort of reserve a 5 for a really good DX box, but I will give the packaging a 4 out of 5. It's functional. Like I say, I only really touched the packaging once anyway to get the figure out and all the accessories, so I'll not be messing about, because I think if I did, you would put a crease sort of down there, maybe a rip and down there. So like I said, that box has probably been opened twice tops, when I first got it and just now to show you. But yeah, nice looking box, nothing out of the ordinary, but good use of materials, and I do like the artwork, so I've given that a 4 out of 5. Rolling on to the likeness or appearance, and normally I would only cover the head, face and hair sculpt sort of thing on the likeness, call it facial likeness, but on this I'm going to mention the overall appearance, because one of the things that really impressed me is not so much the face, although I do think the face sculpt is awesome. I will say as well, if I'm getting ready to review a figure, I tend not to watch a lot of the reviews before mine, because I want my opinion to be 100% mine. But because I was quite late getting this figure, I did watch some on this. But like I said, I try not to let the others dilute my opinion or sort of tip my thoughts one way or another. But one of the good things with this sculpt is they got the expression kind of dead on. It could have been slightly more intentional, but I can't remember, I think it might have been Rhino sort of picked up on the fact, or were it Mark? I can't remember. Sort of picked up on the fact that, again, like the 89 Joker were one of the first I noticed, and I said in the review that you can sort of change the expression just with a little tilt, I think if you look at it, dip his head forward, you get more a mean. I'll do this behind, pull it out, Paul. If you get him from there, he's sort of got more intention, sort of meaner look. But while he's looking upwards, he's sort of got a, I don't know, kind of an intense look, but a little softer, I would say. And the sculpt like that I really do like. Another thing with it is the eyes. They've got a lot of depth in the eyes. I mean, I know Entebbe and Hot Toys always do this, so it's no surprise. But the gloss and the depth in the paint, it just gives him a really good look, and it has got a Superman feel to it. The sculpt is bang on. I have seen the sort of the custom sculpt that's going around. I can't remember the name of it now. I would say it's not a patch on this one. No offense to whoever did it or whoever's bought it, but I think this is the sculpt. Again, the paintwork, I've seen some paintworks on that custom one, and again, I don't think they're anywhere close to this Hot Toys version. So if you did want to do a Clark Kent, this is the head to get, and then sort of you change it with the glasses or maybe sculpt on a kiss curl or whatever you want to do, I don't know. Maybe get a bit more stubble. You could do that quite easy with some sculpting, some paint. You could alter it enough. But like I said, I would always go for this sculpt because I don't think there's any out there at the moment that can touch it. So yeah, I'm banging. Also, the hair sculpt, I've only got at sides. He's sort of got wavy hair in the film if you look, and they've captured that really well. Each strand of hair looks like it has individually been sculpted, and I know that's the case, but they sort of got the waves in his hair. We aren't going to sort of curly, like a perm sort of thing. So yeah, I do like that about it. Moving on to the other appearance, the body underneath the suit. I think sort of the appearance of the abs through the suit, the definition on the pecs, the arms, the veins coming through, I just think it enhances what is already a great looking figure. And I'm not talking about talking about the outfit at this point, I'm just talking about the body underneath. I'll tell you in a minute, is the body articulated or did they go for the aesthetic over the functionality? But yeah, I just think that when it's stood up in a museum pose or in a flying pose, from what I've seen so far, it does look great, and it is 100% Henry Cavill as the Man of Steel. So I have got to give the appearance or the likeness a 5 out of 5. Let's talk you through the pose. Pretty much gliding, his cape wafting behind him. He is on the flight stand, which I'll cover when I get to the accessories. Another thing that I like about this figure is sort of the tinkering around with it to get the best aesthetic, getting the suit in the right place, getting his head at just the right angle to make him look more so, and I'll elaborate on that before the end of the review. But like I say, the way the light catches the muscle underneath, I would class that as appearance as well. So yeah, but yeah, I do think as well, I'll just make a note to the paintwork. Sometimes they do a paintwork and I'm thinking sort of the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, and it's got a really soft paint job. It's not, I don't know, they could have gone a touch more. You know, a lot of times on figures I'll spray them down to give them a glossier appearance, to give them the appearance of sweat or whatever, or a clamminess. This one, I don't think there's no tinkering required, because there is a subtle sort of appearance of stubble, the dots in the skin, the pigmentation, the eyes, the depth, the sort of eyelashes, the eyebrows. I just think they've got it bang on. A really good representation of Superman. So yeah, like I said, on the appearance, I've got to give it a pretty easy 5 out of 5. Moving on to the outfit, and I will say, before I even got this figure, I knew there were some inaccuracies with it. Not massive problems as such that you couldn't get around or would stop you buying the figure, but just they weren't screen accurate. Now that normally doesn't really bother me too much. I can get around it because it is still a representation of the character. But the more reviews I watched, the more pictures I saw, I realised what people were saying. So to cover a few, I think the black sort of frame / piping that that owns the cape on, I don't think in the film it is black. I think it's like a really royal blue with sort of a flash of metallic running through it. Same with the gauntlets. Where they're a flat black, I don't think they're like that in the film. I think they've got sort of a metallic wash to them, like a blue wash sort of thing. The piping, I think does look good, I'll be honest, but again, I think that it should be a little bit more reflective. So if it had been washed with like a metallic top coat, I think it would have caught the light better. And in the film, it sort of switches, depending where the light is, from a black pipe into sort of a dark silver sort of thing, or to my eye, it does. The cape is the wrong colour. It's sat to eye. Like I said earlier, I did steam the cradle inside here and here and nip it in and tuck it down a bit. Also, the fact that the cape was sort of like the Thor cape. I do like the cape, but it pretty much just hangs behind him. They got the colour wrong. I don't know. I think they got the material wrong. I think it should have been more like the Tony May cape. Although, to swap out this cape to a Tony May cape is a big job. And not a big job, but it's a job when you work out the sort of risk equals reward sort of thing, or time spent and equals reward. I don't know if it looks enough better to warrant doing it. I think it does match the boot colour better, as you can see. I will say this camera don't react very well to reds, but the cape is a lot brighter red than the boots are and then the emblem is. But I think you can look past it, or you stop noticing it. Although I will say the Tony May cape is definitely looks the right material and the right colour. But I don't hate this cape. Anybody who's got the Thor figure will know it's a 2-ply cape. I don't know why they use two-ply, but in this case I'm glad they do. For the simple reason is, if you get a thick enough wire, what you can actually do is, where the 2 plies are embroidered together, you can actually feed a wire through the stitching and either run it along the bottom of the cape like I have here, so the cape will hold like that. It's not tied up anywhere, look. This is a wire inside the cape. Now, it's a quick fix because also you manoeuvre the wiring again and it will just pull back through the stitching. Or you could sort of feed the wiring up the sides and have it sort of ballooned out on both sides, or whatever. Depends how creative you want to get. So I do like the cape like that. I always like a wide cape. I know a lot of people don't because they like the natural scale, and they do like the like if I use this as an example, my Dark Knight figures, that one has a dark Spartan cape and is a really good material. It looks good for a dramatic pose, where this one uses the Tony May cape, which is a better scale and it sits more natural. So it depends what you want. But that's how I'm trying to explain the cape. But I think Hot Toys, all in all, got it wrong. Something they got right was the emblem. You can't sort of move it around. It's attached to the body underneath, which were good, because it's never out of place, even if you twist and move the suit. That is one thing they got right. Another thing they got wrong was it's not high enough up. I think this piping should be a little bit thinner, sort of the black area I'm focusing on, should be a little bit thinner, and the emblem should be closer to it. Sort of the width of the piping, again, away from it, and maybe a tad bigger. But again, I can look past that. I do like what they did with the belt buckle. That's sort of attached to the pelvis area, so again, you can move the suit underneath and it won't go out of position. People who have felt the Black Suit Spider-Man, that would just give you an idea of what this feels like in hand. It's, you know, it's like some kind of lycra, but then it's coated with a rubberized material which sort of replicates how the real suit looks, and I think they've done it really, really well at this scale. I think my camera should be clear enough to pick up the pattern on the Hope symbol or Superman symbol, whatever you want to class it as. You can pick the pattern up and it goes all the way around the suit, and I think it looks really good. The piping down the leg, again, looks good. Sometimes you have to tinker with the suit and bend it and pull it into position so that fits right. Same with the elbows, it does pull them out. There is a sort of something you can do with that. Pull that off, it's slightly glued on the inside of the wrist, the suit, to hold it in position. I think what you could do is pull the gauntlet off, take the hand off, pull the gauntlet off, unglue, or just pick the glue off, pull the suit down a touch and re-glue it, or tuck it into the ball joint and then trap it in with the hand. That is another way around it, and what it will do is pull the tension through the suit, which will take those out. I haven't done it yet, but I possibly will do when I've finished here. Same with the leg, it's sort of got a double knee, so it will bend, and sometimes you can see the knee joint through the suit. Again, if that's a problem to you, pop off the boot and pull the suit tighter, put the boot back on, glue it in place if needs be. You're not going to hurt now. Again, the material on the boot, I think my camera should capture that. Really well done. What I will say is, sometimes the sole of the boot looks slightly out of place. I think that's how it's supposed to be, because nearly everyone I've looked at looks like that. But I do like the fact there's a sole on it, because it stops his feet sliding around when you're trying to pose him. So yeah, all in all, the suit is awesome, although there is a couple of little problems with it. Again, when I said I nipped the area here, the sort of cradle area on the inside of the trap area of his body, I really don't see a reason for that cradle to be there. If they'd have just attached it to the inner suit and not put the cradle, it would make his neck look longer, which would make him look more accurate, and it would sit flusher to his shoulders, which I suppose you can tinker with again. Like I said, use steam or press it down, use some force, and it will sort of, I mean, his head's looking down there. If you pose him looking up, it lengthens his neck anyway, so yeah, you can do that with it. And like I said, it's one of the fun things, because you pose and think, oh, that looks natural. Then you think, oh, wait, I've got an awkward looking crease. So you find a way to get rid of that crease, and you do get it looking awesome. So all in all, it is really good. Saying that, I've got to mark it down for the inaccuracies. Like I said, the badge or the emblem being slightly in the wrong place, the cape colour being wrong, and neither wired nor proper scale. But like I say, it still leaves an awesome looking figure. But for the sake of scoring it fairly, I am going to give it only a 4 out of 5. Just as a point of interest before I roll on to the next category, like I say, if you look along the bottom of the cape, it is stitched where the both layers, so the inner and outer layers meet. You just put the wire, feed it through like you would be doing a needle, put the wire inside the cape, and pose it as needs be. You want to go back to natural, just pull the wire out. I'm trying to do it left-handed, which is a bit of a nightmare. But yeah, just feed the wire back out. You can see I've put the bends in it and everything, sort of to hook onto his legs so the cape will sit normal. I hope that explains it without having to show you fucking some kind of video where I'm doing it. That's sort of do the reverse to put the wire in. Sorry. Look, easy as that. No damage to the cape because it's coming through an hole that already exists. It's got a length of wire, quite thick wire and all, thicker better because thicker will hold itself. Lighter wire will let the cape pull it down. So that is basically what I used to pose the cape. And like I said, now it's back to stock. Rolling on to articulation. And to be honest, the sun's just come through this window, so I've got this shot looking like he's basking in the sunny glories. Charging up, getting his power together. He's in action. Flying forward. Again, no wiring cape now. Flying forward. Just about to land a flying right cross. Yeah, looking lovely. Say it's got very bright in this bedroom now. So talk about the articulation. I will say I think it's a newly designed muscular body for this figure, particularly the abs section, because like I say, the definition on the abs is, I don't know, really stand out to the point it pushes through the suit. It might have a bit of the DX13 body about it as well, but I don't think it's quite that bulky. Anybody who remembers the prototype shots as well will remember it were really fat looking, like overly done. I think the accuracy of the body is really good now. I will say as well, again, it's not a category without problems. I think scale wise, I think the proportions are really good, but they've, compared to your other figures, I think they've made it a touch too tall. It's taller than the Terminator figure. It's very similar size to the Jordan and the Kobe Bryant figure, the basketball figures. Now I'm sure that Henry Cavill is not like 6'7", something like that, 6'8", which they would be. So I think they've oversized him. Now, you basically got a choice of doing two things with that fact. You can either pop off the boot and pull out the ankle peg, either put a shorter one in or don't put one in at all, which will bring him in line with your sort of your Batman figure. It will be a little bit taller, but I think the scale will be right. But what will happen is it will look out of proportion. It'll look too short-legged. So if you're displaying him on your own, I would leave as is. If you're displaying him with other figures, I think you've pretty much got to take them ankle pegs out because it'll look massive compared to them, and that was one of the problems with the figures. With the figure, sorry. Just to mention, the head articulates at the top of the neck, which I do like. There was no need for it at the lower neck. I think you can get a good range of mobility on it, and the seam is not really obvious, so I do like that. The hands pop on and off really easily. It's the bigger ball joint, sort of what like Thor would use, and also the Terminator would use, the really sturdier ones, not the little ones like a Spider-Man would get or Luke Skywalker. Double bend elbow, which is good, although sometimes you've got to be careful not to trap the suit in it, and sometimes you do get like a slightly unnatural divide between the forearm and the bicep, but it's not annoying. Again, double bend knee, so you can sort of get a pose like that, get it really nice and tight. It won't go into a gargoyle pose because of the hip articulation, but you really, well, I suppose you could want, I tried it to be honest, to get him sort of crouching with his fist down to the floor and couldn't get him nowhere near fully bent over. He's not that articulated. Again, there is articulation in the upper pelvis, but because the belt buckle is attached to the suit, it's not going to let you go that far. And again, the shoulders might be slightly hindered by the frame underneath, but I think it's as articulated as you would like it to be. And more so than that, I think from an aesthetic point of view, I think, again, it's a trade-off. Do I want it to look right or do I want it to move right? And I think in this case, because the suit's so tight, you want him to look right. So I think it's a fair trade-off. But again, it's not perfect because it doesn't do everything. So I can't give it a 5 out of 5, but I'll only knock it down to a 4 because there's not many things I've tried with it that it's not wanted to do. So like I say, I've given it a 4 out of 5 for articulation. Rolling on to extras, or again, lack of. We all know what the figure brings because we've seen reviews before. But I'm going to try and at least make it interesting for you. I will say there is one good extra, and then 2 are pretty pointless, but we'll make it clear. So, what did it bring? I'll just show you a pose first, because I'm kind of liking that. A lovely big Hulk, got hold of his arm, getting ready to hit him. Superman, got his arm grabbed, like I say, going, maybe jumping into a fucking left hook. Beautiful. I thought I'd show him just to give you some idea of scale. I want to put him with a figure like Batman or something, but I just think, like I said, without fucking about with his ankle pegs, the scale will just kill Batman. So I thought if I put him with Hulk, it's going to look pretty good anyway. So that's why I put that pose in. What does he bring with him? Right, the flight stand, if that's what you want to call it. I think there's a proper name for it, but I'm not sure what it is, so I'm going to call it the flight stand. You know, without me telling you, I do like the idea of this. I've been posing on a stand like that for a really long time, the new Goblin stand. So to have this stand in the collection is really helpful for me. I'm also going to give credit here to Entebbe because they come up with this stand before Hot Toys did. They were using it for the basketball figures. When Matt lent me his 45 shirt Jordan, it had a stand like that. So this isn't Hot Toys' idea. Entebbe were the first that I knew that they did it. Somebody could say no, somebody else did it before them, and they'd probably be right. But for a Superman or any figure, a Spider-Man, Iron Man, I think they should now come with a stand like this. Right. I do like the emblem, I like the paintwork, I like that it's got the darkened sections. Really nice. The nameplate on the front. Now, this colour here, I think, is what the piping should have been on his suit. Particularly that up round the neck. Some will say I'm wrong, but to my eye, in the Blu-ray that I've got downstairs, the piping on the suit is that colour. But again, I could be wrong with that, it's just my opinion. So I do like that. One thing I don't like about it, and would have been an easy fix, is if somewhere there, there'd have been another hole, and it'd have come with a crutch grab section as well, so you could have him in a standing, it would have been awesome. Because with this, it's too hard to get him looking natural using this grabber because of the length for it. It's awesome for the flying pose, obviously, because of this section here stops him seesawing. It holds him in the right position. It grabs him really nice and it doesn't damage him because it's rubberized inside there or got that foam stuff. So I do like that about the stand. I just don't like that it doesn't give you a crutch grab option. They did it with the Jor-El figure as well. for a figure that really weren't in a flying outfit. So they fucked up on that one. They haven't fucked up on this one, but I just think they should have given you an option, like a cutaway, where you could put the crutch grabber in as well for the museum style pose. That's my only downside with the stand. But other than that, I really like it. And it pretty much give the figure a respectable score. Because this item here, although it's pretty well done for its scale, they didn't put you an hand in that could hold it. Now, when they put these items in, and they don't think it through, you could probably trap it between them figures and it'd look like he'd got a black cigar or something, and it won't look right. It should have an hand that could hold it, like my hand's holding that, or like that, whatever. It should have an hand like that will grab it. Because they didn't put that hand in, it makes that completely irrelevant. That'll go into the bag and never see light of day again after this review. This, what they advertised as like a 1-for-1 scale key or whatever. Yeah, it's metal. It does look like in the film, but I just think they cut corners. I think the detail on it is very sloppy and lazy. And again, what the fuck are you supposed to do with it? Can't start your car with it. You could probably scratch some cars with it. I don't know. But other than that, I ain't got a clue what you would do with it. There is a weight about it. Again, to me, pretty useless and won't even affect the score that I'm going to give it. The hands. Obviously, he's wearing the fists. He does have the flying style left and right, the relaxed left and right, which I've said before. I don't think I've got any figure in my collection wearing a relaxed hand. I could be wrong, but I don't think I have. But they always gamers. And then these sort of, what you would class as intense, angry style hands, or lifting something maybe they could be used for. And I do like those. I do like the detail and the paintwork on the hands. A set of hand pegs and an instruction manual pretty much tells you how to work the suit and how to move the head on top of the neck. Very, very slim pickings on the extras. Leaves a lot to be desired. Like I say, if it wouldn't have been for the stand, I'd have probably give it a 1, just because it had brought a couple of hands. But the stand, I do like it, although, again, they could have put the crutch grabber on it as well. But I am going to give the extras a 3 out of 5, which is a generous 3 as well, because it was very close to being a 2. Rolling on to value, and then I'll give you the total score. Right, I'll start off by saying I bought this from Gyobi 11 in China. He just got it into stock and he'd got it on for about, I think it was about £157 shipped. So I sent him a message like I always do, will you sell it me outside eBay, direct through PayPal? He remembered me and said, yeah, he would do me a deal, he would knock it down. I then sent him another mail back saying, well, the money you knock off, will you add me EMS shipping, mark it up correctly, and I'll pay. It ended up costing me £146, I think, with the EMS shipping. So he posted it the next day. It left China on the Friday morning. It got to England on the Monday morning. Customs then held it for 5 days, and I had to pay a custom charge of about 35 quid, simply because he told me he was going to mark it up for a low value. He never. He put $100 on, which takes the price of a Mex Customs look at it. They then put the 20% on, and then they put the about £13-14, whatever it is, handling charge, what they call it. I went down to Parcel Force and kicked off big style because they were trying to say I'd not brought the documentation to pick it up, which were a fucking pisser, and I get sick of fucking Parcel Force, which I've said before. I let Yobi know, look, you marked it up wrong. You're like, did I? So I took him a picture and said, yeah, I asked you to put like $30 on it plus the shipping, and you still didn't. You're like, oh, it's the guys who shipped for me. They sent one figure last week to Chile. I thought, I don't give a fuck about figures going to Chile. I'm thinking, I've asked you to do something, you haven't done it. Now he just says, I'll make sure it doesn't happen next time, and I just fucking left it at that. I thought, he's not going to reimburse me any money for this shipping cost. And I don't know. It just pissed me off because, like I say, sometimes I think it helps when these sellers say, oh, sorry, my mistake, I'll fucking sort it out for you. When they don't, it just leaves you feeling a little bit of a bad taste in your mouth. But that's how it works. So it cost me 146 quid actually for the figure. If it would have come first time, that's what I would have paid, which would have made it really good value. On top of that, I got the £30-odd custom charge, which pissed me off, but I'm not going to mark it against the figure. Even at that price, call it £150, I think that's round about what you can get it for a UK seller for. I would say probably get it, but for the scoring wise, because the extras are so shit, you're not getting a lot for your money. But I suppose you don't need a lot because the figure is so good. Now, I'm going to stand that figure like that in my collection. It's going in that DTOF case there, above the 89 Batman, and I'm happy to display that like that. It doesn't need the little fucking Kodak key, or it doesn't need fucking this, that and other, or the 1-for-1 scale. All it needs is his outfit pulling, nice and tidy, and tight in areas. Obviously I'm going to develop some creases there, but I think they will pop back out of the suit. I'm going to make sure that his gauntlets are in the right place. I'm going to get rid of that bit of sagging out of thing just by moving the suit around. Probably pop the boots off and pull the thing down. Get it looking neat and tidy like that, and I think that is a fucking beautiful pose. And I would normally say, Superman, you want in a flying pose. I can't do that. So, well, I don't want to do it, to be honest, but I can't do it because it's not going in the central cabinet. It's going in a DTOF. Now, if you were to put him at the height of his flying pole, it's slightly too tall for a DTOF cabinet. So most people you will see will have him pretty much like that, or arms by his side. I'm going to go with that because I like it, and I like the fact that because there's a lot of tension for his suit, it's pulling it even tighter, which gives this fucking awesome definition here on the arms, the deltoid, down onto his triceps and biceps. I just think it looks really natural and really good. It's a nice fucking... Let's get him, yeah, in shot. Some people say you should use a tripod. To them I say no, I need the freedom. I need the freedom to roam. Fair enough, you're getting a figure in shot constantly, but that's not real. If I invited you, if you were lucky enough to get invited up to Casa de Clipper, and I said, come and look at this fucking collection, you'd look and you'd move your head around like I'm moving camera around. You wouldn't stay in a static position. Look at that. Fucking hell, that is beautiful. Anybody got this figure coming, you're going to like it. Anybody already got it, I bet you do like it. I've seen some, like I said, some really good reviews. People do seem to like it. I like it a lot. The figure is awesome. The score is not, because it only got a 27 out of a possible 35. But sometimes scores are bullshit. And sometimes things I say are bullshit, but not very often. But for now, it's the Clipper King, and I'm out of here.